Hey there, welcome to Healthy TV episode number 74. I'm your host, Dr. John McPhee, and on today's show, I'm going to talk about the 2 key questions to ask when choosing what foods to put in your body. I don't know about you, but one of the most frustrating things I've found in health, just kind of the health world in general, is what exactly constitutes healthy food. I think we can all kind of generally identify like what's healthy and what's unhealthy, like the extremes, but where it gets really complicated is in the confusion, all the kind of murkiness in the middle of like, how do you actually decide between the 2 choices, what's healthier? So in this episode, I'm going to go through the 2 key questions that you need to ask, and it really simplifies how to decide what's healthy and what's not. I'll explain actually during that why I'm holding a box of pizza, because if you've been watching the show for any length of time, you probably know that I don't eat too much pizza, but I can look at this, man, my mouth waters. I can imagine the taste, the texture of my mouth. It's just the delicious, it's so palatable. And so I'm going to use this as an example once I get into those 2 key questions. Before I do that though, I would love for you guys, if you're really interested in learning a bit more about nutrition, if you're questioning, am I doing the right thing, which a lot of people do, I would recommend that you just click the link in the post above, and there you can download what's called the Eat by Design Quick Start Guide. In that, we dive into, first of all, kind of the overarching, like what do you actually have to consider when it comes to your health, and how does that specifically apply when we're talking about nutrition? And then I go through 5 recommendations, 5 like simple steps that you can put into play immediately that can make a huge difference in your health. Okay, so just grab that, and I'll add an extra little bonus. Anyone who downloads that the ebook and is interested in coming to the seminar, we're hosting next week. And so in that ebook, you'll find there's links to go and purchase tickets, but I'm going to give anyone who downloads that ebook and wants to come to the workshop, I'm going to give you tickets for free. Okay, so go ahead, download the ebook. I'd love to get your feedback too, so just give it a read, let me know what you think. Okay, so now why am I holding a box of pizza? This is something that, it's funny, it's Kirkland brand. I got this when I registered for my Costco membership, and they gave me this incentive. It's like, oh, well, here, you get this free box of pizza. And even then, it's funny, I don't eat pizza, like I can't remember the last time I ate pizza, but even just the mention of free pizza was like, too good to pass up. And I actually went to the freezer and I picked it up, and it's been in my freezer for like 6 months. But anyway, it's kind of funny. My brain still has this really positive, powerful connection to the idea of pizza. And I thought this is a good example of when people are faced with these choices of what foods to eat, there's a whole complex interplay that's going on in your brain, and a lot of it is emotional. So I'm not going to touch on the emotional connection to food in this episode, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I know that I get it. There's this real strong emotional connection to certain foods, really highly palatable, like really tasty foods, comfort foods, and a lot of times that's, if we're honest with ourselves, I know for myself, that's a lot of times like what has driven my behavior in the past. And so I'm gonna make this a bit more conscious exercise for you and give you 2 key questions to ask when it comes to choosing food. Now, before that, we gotta kind of look at, I'm gonna set this down for a second. We gotta look at the overarching purpose for eating. And if we just quickly kind of go sidetrack for a second, the purpose for eating, often people say like, well, it's for energy, right? And that's absolutely true. The food that you eat provides the fuel for your body to work, okay, so that it can do the work that you demand of it throughout the day. And your body's working all the time, whether you're thinking about it or not. So that's one thing, that's kind of a given. We understand that food is fuel. But the other part, and it's just as important, is that food provides the building blocks to build new cells. So your body's constantly regenerating every second, every minute, every hour, every day. Your body's regenerating cells at different rates depending on the type of tissue, but overall your body's regenerating at an alarming rate. Okay, so that whole meme out there about like your whole new you every 7 years, that's true. Okay, your body is regenerating all the time, and it needs the materials to regenerate, and that comes from the foods that you're eating. And so that really begs the question, what's the quality of those building blocks? And I often use the analogy, like if you're building a house and you really wanted, you had your dream house image in your mind, and you really wanted to do the best possible job of representing that dream house in reality. So building this dream house, and okay, maybe you're constricted a bit by resources, but you want to make the best possible choices. You're going to build the best possible materials to build that dream house, right? To make it as closely resembling that dream that you have in your mind. And now, it should just be the same question when it comes to our homes, right? Like each individual home, our bodies, we don't get to build more than one of those, right? We only get one. And so it really, I think, makes sense to consider what's the quality of the building blocks that we're putting in. And then, I would argue, okay, let's choose the best possible quality given our limited resources. Okay, so that's the big picture. So we want to think of the foods that we're eating provide fuel. So we want the most efficient fuel, and we want the best building blocks. Okay, so those are the two criteria. Now, how do you actually decide what those are? And now, with Eat by Design, the way we've approached this is to ask two simple questions. There's really two criteria that determine whether a food is by design or not. Okay, we want foods that, one, are of highest nutrient density. So you can kind of understand that foods have a different amount of nutrients included, and there's foods that range on this. So let's imagine a scale where this is the top end and this is the low end, and there's going to be different amounts of nutrients. Okay, that could be the quality of the fuel, and it could also be the quality of the building blocks inside. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're choosing most of our foods are up here, highest nutrient density. Okay, that's really the goal. And actually, evolutionarily, that's what we tried to seek out, was the foods that had the highest nutrient density return, given the energy it took to find that food. The second consideration is the toxicity. And so to be by design, we need foods that are low toxicity. So we want high nutrient density, low toxicity. Okay? So those two criteria really help to work through that murkiness, because it's pretty easy to identify when foods are, one or the other. Okay, so as an example, I'm not a big fan of counting calories, but I think it provides a really good metric right now for this example, and you can use this when you're looking at nutrient density. So let's say one of these pizzas. Okay, so there's 4 in this box. So one of these pizzas adds up to about 1,300 calories. Okay, so that's a lot. That's, for an average male, that's like a third of your calorie intake. For females, that's about almost like half of your regular calorie intake throughout the day. So one of these pizzas. Now, I don't know about you, but I could easily kill one of these pizzas, right? I could sit down and eat it all in one sitting. 1,300 calories. Now, nutrient density, I'm not sure about you, but I could provide the data to show that the pizza, the stuff that goes into the pizza, pretty low on the nutrient density. Okay, has a lot of energy in the sense of the calories, but it's got really low nutrient density. So that would fail for the by design. Just that alone would cause this to fail. Not let alone the toxicity that exists in the components of the pizza. Now contrast that with 2 kilograms of blueberries. Now I did the math just to confirm, because on the back I was almost like it was like too broad, like too big of a distinction here, but literally 2 kilos of blueberries is the equivalent. It's about 1,300 calories. Okay, now imagine the nutrient density of 2 kilos of blueberries. That would be really hard for me to sit down and eat 2 kilos of blueberries. But the value that my body would get from it, not just the quality of the energy that's in there, but also it's really the quality of the nutrients included. Blueberries, of course, are a really high nutrient density fruit. Okay, they are one of the highest nutrient density fruits out there. Berries in general tend to rank higher when we're looking at fruits. And it would be equivalent to some good quality vegetables as well, which are up on the nutrient density. Just to give you some context, so at the very utmost, like the very peak or the optimum nutrient density, we're looking at like organ meats and certain vegetables, okay, that rank really high on the nutrient density scale. Okay, so 2 kilograms of blueberries versus 1 cheese pizza. I'm going to choose the blueberries hands down every time, because I'm going to eat way less of them, right? So I'm going to consume fewer calories, and I'm going to get way more bang for my buck in nutrient density. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that example. Now, to give you some ways of deciding, like how do you actually figure out nutrient density, I'm going to share a chart where you can actually look generally. Maybe I'll just share you the link so that you can search nutrient density of different foods, and that'll give you an idea of the quality of that food. All right, so hope that helps. I'm going to be sharing lots of different content around food and nutrition this year, or this month, because this is an Eat by Design month. Again, download the Eat by Design Quick Start Guide. If that piques your interest, let me know, and I'll sign you up for the workshop coming up next Wednesday evening at 7:30. Okay, have a great evening, and we'll talk to you next week.